Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Big movement last week from some of the biggest investors in Italy, Intesa San Paolo, Peanut 101 and CDP. Intesa San Paolo invested £40 million in Thought Machine, a British startup developing a new core banking solution.
That was interesting, yes. So basically, that company, it is a UK company, is developing a new core banking platform, whereas core banking basically is the operating system of the bank. And Intesa invested in the company, and apparently it is adopting the technology. So I believe that the old mainframes, IBM, the mainframes, and all the technology that's probably 50 years old, 40 years old, that's existing now is probably getting ready to be put on the shelf and substituted by this core banking tech.
Yeah, and it looks like they're really sort of investing in one of the supplier of their own supplier. So that's
like the really, key supplier.
It's the key supplier, yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting, super interesting. All right, big mover, basically a huge move for Intesa for sure. And Thought Machine has been basically working with a lot of banks, Inge Bank, JP Morgan, and Lloyds Bank in the UK, and even some more cutting edge sort of banking platform like Moniz and Lunar. So these guys have a wide experience in the core banking sector for sure.
Yep.
Very interesting.
And there are two more interesting bits. So basically, Intesa is investing in a platform that's supplying services to JP Morgan Chase. JP Morgan, the small bank, Standard Chartered, another one that's not really small, ING. One and two, in the press release, you could see a quote by Messina, the CEO of Intesa. When Intesa invests in a startup, and it happened in the last few years, not often Messina was caught quoting something. So that's
good point.
That says something.
Interesting point, Nick. What do you think? Do you think they're thinking about digitizing in ways that we don't expect in a way?
Well, I don't know, but this is a strategic move. So this is changing the bank from within. So that's I don't know. You're changing your core platform by adding a completely different one. Probably one step at a time, of course.
Right.
But still, that's strategic.
It feels like a substantial move for Intesa. It feels like pretty to the core. So let's see what's going to happen for sure.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. Big player, Mundimoto marketplace for motorcycle. Received a huge investment from P101. So Mundimoto is a Spanish company, probably the biggest buying and selling platform for pre-owned and new motorcycle. And we have our friend at P101, one of the big VC firm in Italy, leading actually a 20 million round along some of the great investors actually in the automotive industry, which I found was very curious. So we can see Autotech Ventures and from the US and Maniv Mobility from Israel. So awesome investor, very strategic, and a good job to the guys to have helped closing this round for sure.
Yeah, P11 is betting heavily on Spain, and they're doing some interesting investments. And I believe that in the last few months also had quite a few exits from the Spanish market. So they're seeing movement there, and probably they're trying to, ride the wave.
Yeah. And they've traditionally invested in France and Spain, and not only Italy, right?
Who? P101?
P101, not France? Was mostly.
I'm not aware of investments in France, but historically they've been investing in Italy, and in the last couple of years, I believe, they completed some operations in Spain.
Okay.
They also had an exit, at least one exit in Spain recently. What's the name?
Interesting.
Depor Village.
Okay.
We invested and exited not long after the investment. So probably they're seeing a good market there, and
Awesome.
they're shifting resources to Spain.
Awesome.
That's good. I'm happy to have an Italian investor operating abroad. So that's
Totally.
good for us.
All right, moving on. CDP Venture Capital, again on the move, basically investing 2 million euros in Giffoni Innovation Hub. Giffoni has been working forever in the creative space, movie making, and so on and so forth. So they're also pushing their digital innovation platform, being it a community, sort of a startup accelerator. It's a blend of a lot of things, and CDP Venture is really supporting these kinds of effort. So that's I thought that was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this round has been in the air for a while now. Giffoni is a very strong brand. It has an international appeal, so it was only a matter of time. And it is interesting that at least two of the co-investors are basically impact investors.
Interesting.
This is a broader thesis than just digital play.
Very interesting.
Very interesting, yeah.
And here I think it's worth mentioning that CDP is investing through the Fondo Imprese Sud, which is essentially trying to promote entrepreneurship in the south of Italy, especially in sort of less developed, I would say, like areas compared to maybe big cities like Milan or Rome. So that's really like trying to funnel good capital into good companies from the south. Very, very interesting. Right, moving on. 12 million euros from Azimut Enterprises into LIFTT. Very, very interesting. LIFTT has been basically on one of the protagonists of our podcast since pretty much the beginning. Was founded just a few years ago from physicist Stefano Buono. They've been working really, really well in terms of getting into deals and really working with founders. They have a stellar team, and Azimut will probably boost these operations. So Azimut Enterprises is entering into the cap table of LIFTT, and we'll see what's going to happen from here.
So as you said, they're very active. I read from the article that they completed 23 investments in 2 years, in less than 2 years. That's a pretty good pace, even though they act at a very early stage, and that's again pretty good because you need some awareness when you invest in deep tech, in technology transfer deals. So they're quite hard science or complex deals, in particular at that early stage. And it is not exactly a fund; it is an investment holding, investment company. So this is a traditional capital raise, a fundraise, where Azimut is entering into the cap table, as you said. And the goal of the company from the article again is to raise another 15 million, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct.
So they're going fast. They're crazy.
Yeah, and I would say they've become into here the core investors in deep tech in Italy, I would say, or at least one of the, because I cannot really think of anybody else that is that focused in deep tech in Italy. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, there are investors that are somehow focused in some areas of deep tech. Eureka, with their first fund, are based on material science mostly, so around that area. Right. Then there's Progress Tech Transfer Fund that often co-invests with LIFTT. So there are other players, but I believe the LIFTT is the most active. So they're doing very well.
Very much unique model. Definitely fast, quick, good pace, good growth, good movements, and as a holding company. So without the restriction of more limited funds that can actually harm and slow down the pace of the investment. So very strategic. Really love the model.
For one thing, most venture capital funds are basically based on the closed fund model, so they expire after 10 years.
Yeah.
And investment holding does not expire. So you have more freedom to invest in things that might become valuable more than 10 years down the road. So this is probably one aspect that allows them to be, quite active at the very early stage in deep tech. Because you don't have time. You have time on your side, let's say so.
Yeah.
This is very interesting.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, round of 1.95 million euro to Startup Bakery, which is essentially building. So Startup Bakery is a startup studio, and they raised money from 39 investors. And what they're going to do is essentially deploying the capital into 3 SaaS B2B initiatives from their portfolio, my guess is. And they're kind of one of the player in the startup studio ecosystem that is growing in Italy. We have, I would say, a good maybe 10, 15 solid startup studio that have been developing in the past year, I would say. Well, yeah, past 12 months.
Well, yeah, I don't have 10 on my mind, but there are quite a few. So this is something that has been, this is a model that has been embraced by Italy.
Yeah.
We'll see. I hope it will develop and provide some interesting companies down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trick now with Startup Studio is really to have the first studio sort of closing that big company that accelerates in 2 to 3 years. So it's kind of early right now to see which one is working the best, I would say. But yeah, good assumption and good premises for sure to see something interesting down the road. So that's pretty cool.
The real good exits last week are the one completed by Iubenda.
Yeah.
And I have to say Iubenda was one of the portfolio companies from the funds that was before Primo Ventures.
Okay.
We invested in Iubenda more than 10 years ago. So this is a very interesting operation, extremely good in international standards, extremely under NDAs.
I was about to ask you how well it went, and you're tight. Okay, fine. I won't ask.
You don't ask, I won't tell. But Iubenda turned out to as an excellent company with customers all over the world, with excellent products, great stickiness. So this was something that it was in the air. So very good job to Andrea Gianangelo. Congratulations and best of luck going forward, because I mean the story of Iubenda is not finished yet. So there is a lot of development to complete and a lot of milestones to achieve in front of him. But very good.
Nice.
Best of luck.
Very cool. Awesome. All right.
And Storeden, it's how do I say, a Shopify clone sort of. So same approach. A no-code platform to create e-commerce stores.
Yeah.
And it was acquired by Teamsystem. I believe that I couldn't find any price tag on the operation. But it's an interesting move because Teamsystem historically that I know was not operating in the e-commerce sector. So offering a lot of services to companies selling also online.
Wow.
But this is a direct approach to offering a platform for e-commerce. So this is probably a way to integrate and expand an offering.
Very interesting.
So I'm curious about what will happen going forward. I mean, put together, I don't know, Factoring Cloud, Storeden, people management software, all to a company.
Yeah, so it's like they probably are aiming at building like a suite solution with a bunch of different pieces. And yeah, that's a very interesting play.
The perfect one-stop shop.
Exactly. For digital products. Well, not only, but yeah.
Focus
very
on.
interesting.
Yes.
All right. A very great article that, a very great article that you mentioned is the SaaS metrics from Pietro Bezza. Really enjoyed the read. Very short but get to the point. I loved the idea behind it. So essentially, the question here is when exactly a SaaS company is ready for Series A, and Pietro argues that it's a two-factor sort of reasoning, which is readiness and momentum. And I love the fact that he go really specific on the readiness. So it's the product market fit essentially. One annual recurring revenue of around 750K. And I love the way he put it in terms of customers. So he argues that you need 10 plus sweet spot customers and 3 flagship happy customer like super fans that are supporting the operation. So I love that. I love the way that he put it. Very simple, very straight to the point. So awesome article.
That's extremely interesting, and I couldn't resist in sharing it in the newsletter because very often we don't have ways to pit yourself against competition. So you see companies raising huge amount of money and you say, hey, come on, how did they manage to raise that money? And I mean, this might be a way. So you have some kind of threshold, some kind of KPI with which to compare what you're doing.
Yeah, and the other one
is extremely important.
The other one, which was extremely helpful for sure for the listener, is also like a rule of thumb for growth, for company growth. So first of all, the distinction between company momentum versus market momentum. So market is the big wave rising and falling. Company momentum is essentially a growth of at least 15% month over month. So that's when actually good things start to happen, and that's when you want to consider raising a Series A. So that's a great indicator. Tough, I would say very tough sort of benchmark, but really pragmatic and to the point. So I like that.
If you think about it, it is somehow related to the other meme that you have in SaaS businesses, the triple, double. 2T, 3D. A 15% month over month growth, more or less is more than 2x per year. So it's closer to 3x per year because it compounds.
Compounding, yeah.
So it is perfectly aligned to the other rule of thumb.
So we're getting to a point where we have like a very good bank of rule of thumbs for venture. We should do a compilation at some point, Nick, because that's the venture capital heuristics. That's what we need.
Yeah, exactly. But the moment that they become so widespread and well known, that probably means that the market is mature. So the real innovation is somewhere else. So that's something that makes me think, actually. So we could discuss for probably hours about this, but I mean,
totally. Awesome. So I want to close, like always, talking about Pietro and his company, which is Connect Venture. And I love how they put the thesis. And I really encourage people to read their thesis statement. So Connect is a venture capital firm basically operating in London. And they focus on SaaS pretty much, right, Nick? It's mostly SaaS product. And there is one line at some point where it says that founders are like people from the future that come back and they try to convince you what the future look like. And the job of venture capitalist is really to see who's legit and who's not. So that's I really liked it. So very insightful content for sure.
Yeah, easy and powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and with that said, thank you guys for joining to the Week in Italian Startup. We are live on Clubhouse and YouTube. All the episodes are available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And all the recordings are available, and all the sessions are based on Niccolò newsletter. So please subscribe, and you'll receive prompt updates every Mondays. All right, thank you very much, guys. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.